Coming up later tonight on BBC Two, we've got some bloody horrible gardening programme which will only appeal to very, very old people. But first, Votesaxon07 presents Bring Back Robot Wars.
Hello YouTube viewers and random Robot Wars fans. Welcome to the 90s. It was an era known for the repetitive drone that was Britpop, the rise of girl power, curtained hairstyles, Tamagotchis, the list goes on. And it was in this strange, mysterious time that I grew up. And in order to drown out all the fuss about mobile phones and something called the internet, I turned to television, a very welcome distraction. There were very few shows which caught my interest, such as Noel's House Party, SMTV Live and Jim Davidson's Generation Game, but there was one show that I fell hopelessly in love with. Robot Wars.
Let the wars begin!
Yes, Robot Wars was a massive part of my childhood. Every Friday would consist of me coming home from school, bagging myself the comfiest seat in the living room, and from 6pm to 7:30, BBC Two had my undivided attention, with a double bill of The Simpsons and then the wonderful, excellent metal-mashing mayhem of Robot Wars would grace this screen. But, after running a total of 7 series spanning from 1997 until 2004, the show disappeared from our screens. Things seemed to be going so well, so what happened? What caused the BBC to lose faith in one of its most popular shows? And possibly the most important question of all, will anyone ever bring back Robot Wars? As a child, my bedroom walls were adorned with posters of Chaos 2, Razor and Hypnodisc. I collected the merchandise, bought the magazines, and frequently created cardboard models of the machines which appeared in the series, which is not sad whatsoever. And I religiously taped every episode onto big blank VHS cassettes. But has the show survived the test of time? I decided to ask a few people at random if they remembered it. You ever heard of a show called Robot Wars?
Say what?
Have you ever heard of a show called Robot Wars?
No?
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 Never heard of? No?
Don't think so.
Okay, thanks anyway.
Robot Wars. Nope. I'm sorry, I guess I can't remember that.
What the hell? No? See, why the hell does nobody remember this show? It was like an iconic BBC Two show.
I just
Admit it, you know what Robot Wars is! Joke on your lie! I'm just joking. Robot Wars was incredibly popular, with its band of awesome house robots, epic battles, and highly entertaining contestants, such as the Sir Cromalot and Plunderbird teams. It was great stuff. As the show progressed over the years, it continuously evolved, all the while gaining more and more popularity. Over the Christmas period of 2000, a celebrity special was produced in order for fans of boy bands and soap operas to be exposed to the show. And in October 2001, a spin-off show was produced titled Robot Wars Extreme. It seemed that BBC Two themselves were slowly getting behind Robot Wars. They were clearly beginning to make it their flagship show, and showed this by unveiling new idents for the channel, which were primarily robot-based. Oh, and Kill-A-Lot released a song. Not exactly one of the show's best moments. As the success of the series continued, it began to spawn multiple international counterparts, American shows such as BattleBots and Dutch Robot Wars and many more. Even in the UK, another show was produced called Techno Games, a sort of robot Olympics. Robot Wars seemed to be one of the greatest shows on BBC Two, going from strength to strength, but then it all went wrong. After learning that the show's viewing audience had dropped from 6 million to just 2 million, former BBC Two controller Jane Root decided enough was enough and cancelled the show. But all was not lost, as Channel 5 decided to snap up the show, promising to take it in a bold new direction and offer the fans new entertainment ideas. Unfortunately, those new ideas seemed to be the exact same ideas as BBC Two had abandoned, and with that final nail in the coffin, Robot Wars was dead.
There's a lot of people out there, a lot of fans out there still, who love Robot Wars and would love to see it make a comeback to television. For you, what was it that kind of made it, brought it to its end, really, so it wasn't being broadcast on television anymore?
Well, it didn't help that BBC Two decided it didn't want it and Channel 5 did. And Channel 5 said it would take over 5 years and took it for 1, which I sort of predicted, when they realised how much it would cost to make. I think really it had come to a natural end because, frankly, where else was it going? We got when we first started Robot Wars, we wanted to, with our educational hats on, we wanted to do stories about, in fact, because these weren't robots, they were radio control devices, we wanted to do program items that would have real robotics on it. Yes, we'd have the games and the matches, but as I said, when it boiled down to it, people just wanted to see two large robots, heavyweight robots, bashing the living daylights out of one another. So that's what the whole program ended up being. Once you've got to that stage, where else are you going to go? You'd have to go to full-size robots or tanks in the Nevada desert, which we did think about at one point. I mean, there was thinking, can we make this even larger? So, Scrappy Challenge meets Robot Wars. But the practicalities was, at least we were in an arena. But the thing was, we'd already raised the robot weight from 80k up to 100k. And they're pretty heavy robots. Some 100k is over the weight of some of the house robots. And the stage couldn't take it. There was one occasion when one of the robots hit the side, one of the house robots, it was actually hit the side of the stage and bent it. All right, we have a double layer. We have health and safety. It was all. We were very, very strict about that. We had a double layer of it, but the inner barrier got bent, which we never thought would actually happen. We're talking of bolts that are nearly half an inch thick, sort of thing. Hey, hang on a minute. So you're thinking, okay, something did hit the battle box, which is 3/4 inch macrolon. I mean, it was very. This is armour plated stuff. There was quite a bit of damage done to it. Some of the things hitting it. I mean, nothing ever went through it. But you get to the stage where we made them any bigger, something may get through it. It means we need a much bigger box, much more money. So, as I said, I think it came to a natural end. It really did.
But what had led this unstoppable show to decline? Seemingly, it had all began with the BBC back in 2001, at the beginning of Robot Wars Extreme. Now, when I first began watching Robot Wars, it was more of a simplistic, grungy show which focused more on the reality of building fighting machines and the camaraderie of the teams backstage, all the while being presided over by the stand-up charm of Craig Charles. But apparently this wasn't good enough for the BBC, who decided to fill the arena with bright, shiny colours and transform Craig Charles from a somewhat enthusiastic yet dry comedian into a quivering bag of childlike lunacy.
This is fight time!
It was obvious that they were desperate to turn Robot Wars into more of a kids' show, catering to children over adults and teenagers. But at its heart, Robot Wars is, and always will be, a family show. Too much emphasis was placed on pseudo-scripted drama, including scenes of Roboteers sabotaging other teams' machines, which would have never have happened in the show. And husbands and wives at war in a blatant attempt to drum up drama.
Do you think this is going to spill over into the marital home now?
I think so. I've got plenty of time to rebuild that robot because no more hot dinners on the table for you, mates. And your bed is going...
The war continues on a domestic level.
The war continues on a domestic level.
It sounds like you have a lot of fun on Robot Wars. Was there much fun behind the scenes with all the other Roboteers?
Well, we certainly had a lot of fun. There was some people who took it very, very seriously. I'm not going to name any names, but yeah, we definitely had a lot of fun. I mean, you can tell, and we got Sportsmanship Award 3 times, I think, out of the 6 seasons that we did. But yeah, we had a lot of crack.
A magazine was released to coincide with the series for very young children, which included cartoons of battles and other childish nonsense, which I'm sure anyone under the age of 8 would enjoy. When Titan Magazines finally decided to produce a grown-up magazine aimed at teenagers and adults, it only ran for 8 issues before being cancelled. And why was it cancelled? Because the magazine gave details on battles which hadn't been aired yet. And whose fault was this? The BBC, for shifting around its scheduling and holding back new episodes of Robot Wars to bring us 2 hours of people standing around doing nothing on a golf course. Well, that's what I call Friday night entertainment. After the declining ratings saw the show move to 5, things really began to take a turn for the worse. First of all, the show had advertising like this.
Crushing robot. We've got this big spiky thing here. So, tactically, right, we just want to stick this sharp thing into the other robots, yeah? So I do get a bit of a sick enjoyment seeing them destroyed in arena, I have to say.
I mean, this is a show which has included past battles such as this, and 5 decided instead of showing us such past anarchy, to instead go with a dull cartoon robot? Wow, I really want to watch that show. Jeez, give me the original BBC Two advert any day.
What makes RoboCop look like a rookie? The Daleks look like wheelie bins and could give R2-D2 a right good seeing to. Robot Wars, custom-built, remote-controlled fighting machine.
Robot ears, stand by.
In a head-to-head battle to the death.
Look at the piercing Japanese blade. Can he turn it over? Oh, magnificent!
Damage, aggression, and Jeremy Clarkson. Robot Wars, Friday at 6:25 on BBC Two.
Banzai!
Producer interference wasn't helping either, with stricter rules on which machines could qualify for the 7th Wars. They introduced an active weapon law, which meant that boxes on wheels such as Tornado couldn't enter unless they had a moving weapon such as an axe or disc. This also meant that previous grand finalists and fan favourite Stinger couldn't enter, as technically their weapon was static. The producers took a particular dislike to Storm 2, as it hardly ever used its flipping arm, yet it was responsible for some of the most entertaining battles of the 7th Wars. I mean, I have never seen a machine in this series with so much power behind its drive that it could ram an opponent straight out of the arena using nothing but sheer force. That's entertainment. That's impressive. And the grand final battle between Tornado and Storm 2, I was on the edge of my seat. More erratic scheduling on 5 is another reason for the show's demise. The new controller of 5 in 2003 didn't really like Robot Wars and did everything in his power to cancel it. By moving the show from Sunday nights to Saturday nights to Sunday mornings, he ensured that viewers had no idea what time the episodes aired. So, when the disappointing viewing figures were released, it gave 5 a legitimate reason to pull the plug on the show. So, with Robot Wars dead, interest in the sport of robotic combat began to dwindle. One by one, the other shows began to fall into obscurity, and the home of the arena and pits at RAF Newton slowly began to gather dust and fall into a state of disrepair. In 2005, the new owners of the Air Force Base stumbled across the old Robot Wars arena set, valued at £11,000, and scrapped the whole thing for a measly £250. A company called Robot Arenas UK had purchased the arena in 2004 in order to continue the sport of roboteering, but a court ruling stated that RAF Newton had acted reasonably and owed Robot Arenas UK absolutely no compensation. But the Roboteers were not beaten, and from their continuous and undying love of robotic combat, the Fighting Robots Association was born. Established in 2003, the FRA ensures the safety of the sport and maintains the rules on the building, fighting and judging of competitor robotics. So, what exactly remains of Robot Wars today? Live events across the country such as Roaming Robots Extreme Wars and Robot Rumble keep the spirit of the show alive. Even earlier this year, the Gadget Show held a robotic combat event. In a nice touch of irony, the warehouses in which Robot Wars were initially filmed were torn down to make way for the Millennium Dome in London's dockyards. The Millennium Dome, now the O2 Arena, hosts some of these live events each year. So, in a bizarre way, it seems as though Robot Wars has come full circle. But what of the humans? The presenters, where are they now? Well, you may remember back in the first wars, Jeremy Clarkson was the host, but we all know what happened to him. He's off blowing up caravans on Top Gear. From the Second Wars onwards, Craig Charles was the host, and he brought with him a lot more enthusiasm. These days, Charles spends most of his time treading the cobbles of Coronation Street while trying to avoid crappy CGI tram crashes. When he's not doing that, he's either popping off to film new episodes of classic cult sci-fi show Red Dwarf, or hosting his funk and soul show on BBC Six Music. So, still a fair amount of ties to the BBC then. Philippa Forrester, Robot Wars Golden Girl. Fresh from presenting other tech-based shows such as Tomorrow's World, Forrester was a natural presenter for the show. She left Robot Wars briefly during the Fourth Wars in Extreme Series 1 due to being extremely pregnant.
Yeah, Philippa Forrester would have loved that.
I didn't think she did anymore.
No, she had a baby.
And she finally decided to call it a day when the show moved to 5. After hosting the spin-off series Techno Games for a while, Forrester now makes quaint little documentaries with husband Charlie Hamilton James and her 3 children about the Halcyon River. Motormouth commentator Jonathan Pearce is now a full-time football commentator for the BBC, working mainly on Match of the Day. He's also lent his voiceover talents to such games as UEFA Striker and television shows such as... Hole in the Wall. What a waste. During Philippa Forrester's absence from the Fourth Wars and the first series of Extreme, a new pit reporter was drafted in the form of Julia Reid. Her over-the-top enthusiasm and presenting style seemed to be just a little bit too fake for my liking, kind of like a jobbing presenter just trying to get by. She's also known for working on Techno Games for a bit and the Channel 4 science programme Superhuman. But since then, she seems to have fallen off the face of the earth. Interesting. And finally, for the Seventh Wars, the pit reporting duties were given to pin-up girl and X-Page 3 model Jane Middlemiss. In all fairness, she did do a very good job being enthusiastic without seeming too fake. She's since presented other shows such as Live from Studio 5, Celebrity Love Island, and has had various other presenting work. But what about the house robots? Have they been stripped apart and destroyed just like the arena?
Speaking about the house robots, actually, quickly, there's a lot of rumours out there. Do you know if they're still around? If Chris Reynolds has them locked away in his garage or something?
Yeah, they are around. I mean, I think they're very much decimated. Unlike the dog, which still remains in one piece, because I'll make sure he does. But I think bits have been, that's a handy pump, we'll use that. We could use that RAM. Right. You know, that's the sort of thing. That's what happens to these sort of things, unfortunately, is that once they reach the end of their natural life is you're doing another thing, you want the item, we're not going to buy a new one, there's one sitting in the corner, it's not going to do anything else. Boom.
But surely Robot Wars has had its day, I hear you cry. Why should it be brought back? Well, it was known for its destruction and mayhem, but it was also known for its creativity. Look at the hard work and effort each team puts into the design and creation of their robots. Sure, there's a chance it'll be ripped to shreds, but it's in the rebuilding of these machines that the real ingenuity is shown. Take, for example, Splinter, who was memorably trashed by Hypnodisc back in the Fourth Wars. They returned for the next series with a machine which was far superior, with a better design and more destructive weaponry. So much so that they were actually able to stand up to Hypnodisc when they met again in Extreme. The destruction only aided the imagination and creativity of the Roboteers. It was a show which provided the viewer with entertainment while educating them on mechanics and robotics. It got so many people interested in technology and design, myself included. Ever since the show went off the air, there have been petitions held by Roboteers and fans alike for the show to be brought back. Even today, various Facebook groups call for the show's return. Robot Wars will always be an iconic show, and the sport of robotic combat still remains firmly within the public's minds, with numerous references to the series continuously popping up in various other TV shows.
Activate! Nice touch! Thank you! No!
stay in tonight and do laundry.
I'm not a doctor, but I think that's what turned Stephen Hawking's mad, too much thinking. Do you know what I mean? The universe is expanding. Of course it is, Stephen. Yeah, of course it is, yeah. Jeez. Take a day off, go for a walk, but not a walk, but I mean, just, no. Open a window, watch a bit of TV, Robot Wars is on, you love that, don't you?
Highly popular shows such as The Simpsons have made reference to robotic combat. Heck, even one series of Big Brother in the UK had a robot-related task, in which housemates had to build machines in order to battle, that's right, Bigger Brother from Robot Wars. Ah, the irony. Add that to the resurgence of interest in the show and addition of new viewers due to the internet and repeats of the show airing on digital channels such as Dave, and it's safe to say that Robot Wars hasn't really been forgotten about. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that Robot Wars never really died in the first place, what with events still taking place each year and its fan base steadily growing. The only real problem is that the events are no longer being televised. Another major issue is getting television executives and producers interested in funding the show's return. These days the TV schedules are cluttered with reality shows such as Big Brother, Made in Chelsea and The Only Way is Essex. At least Robot Wars would offer more excitement than watching people cooped up in a house all summer. TV executives behind these shows say reality is cheaper to make, but reality shows are exactly that, just basic cheap entertainment which gives little substance to the viewer. At least Robot Wars gets people interested in engineering and mechanics. I mean, I had no idea what a pneumatic ram was before watching the show, but it helped me complete my technology course in high school. How many people can say that TOEI has helped their education? You know, beyond those studying beauty therapy.
If it were theoretically ever to make a comeback, would you be interested in working on it again?
I think I reached my natural life at the end of it, really, as such. I don't think... The thing is, when Derek and myself started it, I mean, I knew the television side and the effects side of it. Derek certainly the radio control side of it more than I did, far more than I did. I think we were an ideal duo to do it. But the time we got to season 3, why I moved actually onto judging in the end, because when we first started it, we had to tell people how to build robots because, as I said, nobody really knew. We did for season 1. God's honest truth, we wanted 36 robots to have enough heat. We got 33. We put three ringers in. Lose immediately. One team arrived with a box of cogs. It will be a robot. We had to believe them. Now, by the time we got to season 3, season 4, we had sort of 400 robots for 100 places. We could pick and choose. We didn't have to tell people how to build robots anymore. They were telling us how to build robots because as I said, they were doing it all the time. They were effects in the widest sense, but these were one-off individual devices that worked. Some were better than others. We didn't have to tell them how to do it. So in that way, our job had sort of ceased. So therefore, we wouldn't have, if a new one came up, we wouldn't have to tell them how to build robots.
If the show were to ever make a comeback, would you be interested in either submitting a new robot or resubmitting data or working on the show in any capacity?
Absolutely, I'd love to, yeah. If the show comes back, I'm definitely in there. Probably not with Daytor because even though the show has stopped, competitive robot fighting has gone on, and the robots now are very, very sophisticated, and they're using very high-spec materials like Hardox armour, which wasn't used in certainly when Daytor was being envisaged at the beginning.
As I said before, robotic combat is still going strong. It's just not broadcasted. All it would have to do would be film the live events and invest in health and safety teams for insurance purposes. If that takes off, then invest in an arena, which of course would be cheap to make, as the original arena was initially constructed from pieces found in a scrapyard. But for the moment, thanks to so many other people out there filming the live events, at least the show kind of lives on through internet sites such as YouTube. And so, that pretty much brings my argument for the show's return to a close. Yes, I, just like so many other fans and Roboteers out there, would love to see the show make a comeback. But saying that, there is one tiny thing which bothers me. During the 7th Wars, the producers were heavily interfering with the show, which led to the Storm 2 controversy. Remember what I was saying about the producers adding the active weapons law? Well, they were not happy that a box on wheels had reached the grand final and were doing everything in their power to ensure that Storm 2 would not win, even allowing its opponents time to fix their machines during breaks in battles and misinforming the judges, which led to Storm 2's defeat in the grand final battle against Typhoon 2. Now, within the media industry, lying to your audience is a big mistake. It's just insulting. So it really does show something that the last ever series of Robot Wars was the one which had the highest amount of producer interference. So my question is this: do we really want the show brought back if this is what was happening behind the scenes? If it is ever to be resurrected, things such as producer interference have got to go if it is ever going to be a success. Well hell, they brought the likes of Gladiators and Red Dwarf back after all. Surely the same could be done for Robot Wars. And heck, look at Doctor Who. After crashing and burning in the late 1980s, it was revived in 2005 and is now one of the most successful BBC shows, even conquering America. So maybe, just maybe, there's a small chance that one day robotic combat will make a return to the small screen. Sign the petitions, join the cause, and maybe one day they'll bring back Robot Wars. Bye bye. Always wanted to do that.